In today's video, I'm going to explain why, despite basically being a kill team player, I'm going to pick up Warhammer Underworlds. So, if you haven't noticed, because maybe you don't check Warcom or you only read the kill team related articles, there's a new edition of Warhammer Underworlds, Warhammer Underworlds Ard. It's been announced today that it's going to go up on pre-order on Saturday. I'm expecting it to, this isn't confirmed yet, but I'm expecting it to be the same excellent price point as the Kill Team starter set, £67.50, which I think represents a great price. Even if you just wanted to treat this as a game in the box, you know, if it's still, as they've said it does, essentially play like Warhammer Underworlds was a really, really fun game. I really enjoyed that. Played it quite solidly for the first 2 years it was out. If you've ever been Underworlds curious, at the risk of sounding like an advert, and I am absolutely 110% not paid any money by Games Workshop, although, you know, I wish they would send me stuff, they just don't. But this would be the perfect time to jump into Warhammer Underworlds, because it is a full-on, like a reset, right? I'm just going to quickly talk about my history with Warhammer Underworlds. So, when Shadespire came out in 2017, it was like my main game for actually a year, maybe 2 years, right? I went to tournaments, first tournaments I ever really went to. You know, I mean, I've been to like local tournaments for other games before this, but the first time I ever went to Warhammer World to play in like an organised play thing was for Warhammer Underworlds. You know, I really enjoyed it when it first came out, especially in, I think it was a couple of months after it had been out, when the first Death, I really like Skeleton, when the first Death team came out, right? I really enjoyed playing Warhammer Underworlds. It's such a, I don't know, it's basically a board game, but you guys use Warhammer minis. I just really remember enjoying it, right? I don't remember being amazing at it, but I remember enjoying it, and it's got that, a bit of that card game. Years ago I used to play Magic, right? And I've got the 40k Magic precons away. I can play them against each other as like a little board game. But it's got that card game vibe, that board game vibe. It feels really fun, and it feels really different as well to all of your other games. I remember enjoying it a lot. I also love a skeleton, and part of my problem at the moment is I only really play skirmish games with regularity, right? So it's Kill Team and Shatterpoint. The only games I've played for a long time have been Kill Team and Shatterpoint. I have armies for 40k, Age of Sigmar, the Old World, and 30k. The chance for me getting to play any of these big games is really rare, and when I do get the chance to play one of these big games, it's inevitably, yeah, it's inevitably 40k, because that's like the one that's easiest to get people into. Like, Sinbad has some Age of Sigmar. I don't think he has any of the Old World or 30k. Like, and then in Liverpool, some of my friends up there nebulously have some 30k, but not that they're really kind of. It just tends to be 40k that gets played on those kind of rare 4 times a year at the most times that I'm playing a big game. So I miss fantasy as a concept. I've said it before. These are actually my Sepulchral Guard from back in 2017, November 2017. These came out and I painted them up. So they look a little bit rough, you know. Do forgive me. They are a little bit old, but you know, I really, really love these miniatures. I really love that classic fantasy trope of a skeleton warrior. I've said that a lot on the channel and here. They're usually in live streams, and it's just something. Getting to do something with my fantasy miniatures would make me happy, right? And it being a little small skirmish game that can go on the little table in the living room that we eat off, rather than have to get any big tables out. This is something that really sort of fits into my life. Whether I take it seriously and end up doing loads of serious content for it, I don't know. I mean, it's quite possible that Games Workshop ruins it again after a year or so, but I think, you know, the price that it costs, if I get a decent number, if I get a dozen games out of it that I enjoy, then yeah, I've paid more for less. So how does it work, right? The decks and stuff, let's go through that. So you buy the box, £67.50. In that box, you get basically everything you need to play. You get 2 different warbands to choose from, so you're either getting the Stormcast Eternals or the Skaven. I have to say, the models, like, there's nothing wrong with them. I think they're really lovely models, but just like for all I say I like Age of Sigmar, I think I like a lot less of Age of Sigmar, if that makes sense. Like, I'm a lot pickier when it comes to the Age of Sigmar stuff as to what I like, but at the same time, I really like the bits that I like, which tends to be like the Soulblight Gravelords pretty well exclusively. There are some other bits that kind of appeal to me, but the Soulblight Gravelords pretty much exclusively, right? But you get your 2 teams. You get your Stormcast, it's like 3 guys, and you get your Skaven, which is a few more guys. Now, it's worth saying that as far as the faction decks go, all you really have in the way of a faction deck, as you can kind of see in this little picture, you've got one big card that is like a reference card that has your special rules on, the things that your team does that are like I guess like ploys almost that you can do during the game, right? And then you get a card for each of your models with their sort of vital statistics on, right? And then the actual cards that you play with in your hand, like a hand of cards, they come from the Rivals decks. And in the core box, you get the 4 core Rival decks: Blazing Assault, Emberstone, Sentinels, Pillage and Plunder, and Countdown to Cataclysm. So the basic idea of how it works, I think it's called the... Oh, there's 2 formats. Like, one's called the Nemesis format, and one's called something else. Rivals format. Yeah. And I think the Rivals format's like the easier, the startery one, right? Which is where I'm certainly going to start and maybe stay, like, I don't know, where essentially you just take a Rivals deck, right? And you take a team, and any team in any Rivals deck, and you play them together. Now, the teams do have, and we'll look into this a bit more in a minute, like, the teams do have a little icon on them that basically says, oh, this is an aggro team, this is a defensive team, this is a team that can do aggro or defense, or and then the 4th one, which is like, this is a team that does tricks. And then you can match those to the decks, like, the deck will be like, this is an aggro deck, this is a defensive deck, this is kind of a flexible deck, and this is a deck that does tricks, right? And I think the 4 decks in the box are one of each kind of archetype, and the 2 teams in the box are both flex. And the thing is, they've said that the flex ones will work really well with any deck. So you can really try, you know, just from the starter set, without buying anything else, you can run each team with each different deck and have quite a lot of different things to choose from, right? And decide what gels for you and what you enjoy as an experience. And then the more advanced mode to play that I don't quite know may end up being, I'm not sure whether the advanced mode, as it were, the deck building mode, becomes the way people de facto play, or whether it becomes something that people ignore. But don't panic. Like, the deck building mode isn't, oh, you have to collect every single card and make a deck out of every single card. No, even in the deck building mode, all that you do is you grab 2 of the pre-constructed decks and you basically just pare them down to one deck that's a hybrid of 2 other decks, which doesn't seem like, it doesn't seem that bad in terms of how much brain space it would have to take up, and especially if, like, yeah, okay, it's a competitive card game, there's going to be net decks, there's going to be people going, oh, hey, this is something I do, but it shouldn't actually be that hard. Like, you could literally go, you know, to start off with, if you just pick a team, you say, I really like the Skaven, you play 4 games, you play the Skaven with all 4 decks, and then you go, okay, cool, I've got an idea of what all these decks do now. You know, maybe you really like, and I'm just making things up, maybe you really like Blazing Assault, but there's like 3 or 4 cards from Pillage and Plunder that you wish you could put into the Blazing Assault deck. If you're playing that deck building format, you know, you can model like that. It doesn't have to become like one of these things where it sort of gets really like Rain Man, where you see every combination and, you know, just feel it out, right? I think it could be really fun, just as a boxed experience. Of course, the one downside is, like I've just said, if you don't like Stormcast or Skaven, you're going to want to know what else that you can do. So let's talk about that. They're bringing back 16 of the teams from the previous edition of the game. And And what they're releasing is they're releasing this card pack, which contains the fighter cards and the the card with the, let's call it employees. I don't know what the term's actually going to be for the 16 different teams. Hopefully that's going to be a good price. Like £19.99, I think, would be what I'm hoping it costs, right, for the card pack. And then if you have the 16 older warbands, you can play them in the new version of the game with the updated cards. Now, there were more than 16 warbands from the previous edition. I think there was like 30. The ones that haven't been selected to be in this 16 card box are gonna get print and play fighter cards and stuff, but I think they're effectively going to be considered legends, so you won't be using them in tournaments and things. Also, you can't buy them, which is why they won't be letting you use them in tournaments, because it's unfair, isn't it? But they have said as well they want to bring back more of the teams from the first edition over time, so that's cool as well, right? But you've got these 16 warbands. If you didn't buy the models the first time, so if you're getting into Warhammer Underworlds right now, but you don't like Skaven or Stormcast, fair enough, and you want to know what else is out there, we'll go through them now. But they are selling them in bundle boxes, so they're probably going to be a little bit expensive. In that you have to buy 4 teams at once to get the team you want, which is a bit sad. But I am assuming that when you buy the bundle box, it comes with all the cards for the teams in the box, right? So this first box is the order box. So you got Hexbane. I think Hexbane Hunters are really cool. Actually, I really like Hexbane Hunters as well. But I think the other 3 teams in this box suck. This is what I mean about I'm very picky when it comes to, like, I love the things I love, but I'm very picky when it comes to when it comes to Age of Sigmar. So you got Hexbane Hunters. You can see from the little grey lozenge there, that's an attacky team basically. It's got a proper name, but that's an attacky one. Mari's Purifiers down here, the Wet Elves. No, they're not Wet Elves, the High Elves, aren't they? Yeah, the High Elves. That's a flex team. And then the Dryads here are a fighty team. And then the Steampunk Dwarves are a tricks team, right? But those Hexbane Hunters are cool minis. Then we got the Chaos teams, and again, the same story with the Chaos teams. I really like one of them, Kagra's Ravagers. They look really cool. I actually own a set of these, but I have converted them a little bit and used them in my Old World army. Well, that's certainly the shelf they stand on, right? These are really cool models. Big fan of these, actually. These 4. And this is the defensive archetype, and you got the other 3. You got these Dread Pageants Lesh guys. Very weird. Gore Chosen of Drom, who are the Khorne guys. Very weird. Ephraim's Pandemonium, who are the Tzeentch guys. Also very weird. It's interesting that they did, they did an Undivided one, a Tzeentch one, a Slanesh one, and a Khorne one. Where's Nurgle? Nurgle will be along in a moment, don't worry. But yeah, they're cool as well. Again, kind of annoyed that I like one team in the box. Then we've got the Death one, and again, actually, Death's my jam, but I only like one of these teams as well. Happily, it's the Crimson Court, and I already own them because they're like the best miniatures. They're just really awesome, right? And I've never painted them. So it's finally going to be the reasons, actually. Like, 2025 is going to be the year I finally paint the Crimson Court, I'm sure of it. So we got the Crimson Court. Who's what? They're the team I'm going to main. So I'm going to buy the card, the little card pack. I've got these 4 models. I'm going to buy the main game, and I'm going to play the Crimson Court until they come out with something else that I like better. But I'll play them with all different decks, and that's how I get my variety, right? I'm not sure that it's, because with Kill Team, I never wanted to be a guy that just bought one team and stuck on that team. But with this, man, if you just pick up all the different decks, you're like, oh, variety, I'll run them with this deck today. Cool beans. That's my plan anyway. You got the Ghosty Men, the Headsman's Curse. You've got Karen's Reapers, and you've got the Grimwatch there as well, if you like those things. And Destruction Warbands, in a break from tradition, in all the other sets, there was one that I really liked. So the Crimson Court, Kagra's Ravagers, and Hexbane Hunters. These all suck. I'm just not... Destruction is like the opposite of everything I like in a faction identity, but you might like them. I mean, if you are one of the many people on the internet that looks at this guy and goes, he's got a monkey with a knife in his tail, he's got a bird of some kind, and 2 little goblins, and one of the goblins has got a peg leg, and that makes you make the funny kind of noise, then this is the warband for you. It's just not the... Destruction just doesn't do anything for me, especially the Cunning Crew, which is the ugliest thing I think ever in the history of ever. But you know, you don't have to like everything. That's fine. It's aesthetics traits. I'm really excited. I'm being really negative. Why am I being so negative? I have a very weird relationship with Age of Sigmar, where I really love very specific bits of it. That's not all. So they've given us a roadmap. As a Kill Team primary player, I'm very jealous of their roadmap. It's very clear. It explains exactly what they're going to get, right? So the Ember Guard core game comes out in 2024. It's coming out. It's going on pre-order tomorrow. And then we're also getting those returning warband boxes. And cards. And then we're also getting 2 brand new warbands. The Jaws of Idsel, which Mrs. T will be picking up. She's very sad that the skinks from the previous edition didn't make it into one of the 16 returning warbands, but she'd pick up the Jaws of Idsel because she likes Seraphon, that's her vibe. And then we got Grandfather's Gardeners, who are some really like pissed off looking. Like if you go and zoom in and look at this picture in detail, these Plague Bearers have got a really bad case of the Mondays. They look really kind of just hacked off at the world. And we're also getting 2 more new Rival decks to take the core number of Rival decks in the game up to 6. I really hope the Rivals decks are not bundled with the new warbands. And I very rarely, like I have the utmost respect for Mr. Glasshoff Dead. I never ever want to throw any shade his way. But in his video of Warhammer Underworlds, about Warhammer Underworlds he did recently, I think on his main channel, he did say, oh, I really hope they bundle the Rival decks in with the warbands, because it would be insane to not to, right? And I'm like, are you high, Andy? Like, I do not... If Games Workshop says to me, oh, if you want to collect all the Rivals decks, and I do, because I want maximum flexibility to play those 4 vampires just forever with all the different decks, and they say you have to buy the board Plague Bearers to do that, I'll be like, you what, Games Workshop? Now, they haven't said they are bundled together. They haven't said they aren't bundled together. If you look at all the Warcom articles, it's kind of ambiguous. I really hope they're not bundled together, right? If I can just pick up some decks for a little bit of money, right, and then just have a whole brand new way to play with the models I've already built and painted, that means that I can have Warhammer Underworlds as this spare little game that doesn't, like, demand huge quantities of hobby time from me, because it's painting 4 character models, right, that I can pick out and play whenever I want to, and I can play with a massive variety of different decks. That sounds pretty good to me. And then if they re-release the Sons of Velmorn, I'll play them. Or the OG skeletons as well, I'll try them. Or any new sub like Gravelords, as long as they don't like double down on the wolf vampires. Wolf vampires suck. Final thoughts. Is anyone else thinking of picking a Ember Guard? What's this video even been about? It's been quite a short one though, like 18 minutes. Mainly of me rambling about how I really like very specific parts of Age of Sigmar, right? Don't worry, Kill Team fans. Kill Team content will resume shortly. Like, it's just been a little blip. A little blippy blip in the usual produce. So, like, no one's going to watch this video anyway. But if you have watched it, thank you so much. Like, the people who will watch every video, even when it's not something that the thumbnail looks interesting to them, the people who are just, like, really loyal to the concept of the channel existing, thanks. Yeah, appreciate you. If you're also dipping your toe into Ember Guard, if you're thinking, yeah, I'm going to jump in, or, like me, jump back into Warhammer Underworlds and see where it goes, let me know in the chat. Maybe I'll do some more videos about it on the channel. Like, probably not, right? You've seen how many Shatterpoint videos there have been. There have been like 2, so maybe there's going to be like at least 1 more Underworlds video, and then I'll go back to Kill Team when nobody watches them. That's just the way of things. But yeah, Underworlds, I think it's going to be pretty fun, and just a decent little secondary game that I think should be a lot even quicker to get out and play, and not have to like set up any terrain or do any of that stuff. And yeah, look forward to it. Let me know what you think. All right, thanks guys, thanks for watching, and I'll unless they do something interesting on Warcom, will be another Kill Team rundown tomorrow. All right guys, thanks. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye.